I'm going to talk about the current state of user experience and virtual reality today. And yeah, everything you need to know about designing for virtual reality. First of all, hi, I'm Thomas. As you can see, I'm obviously excited about VR. This is all the kind of nice gadgets we have in our office at Delightic. So I'm the head of user experience there. Yeah, I'm currently working together with the team on developing a tool called CoSpaces. And at night I'm co-curating, co-organizing Push Conference. You probably know this kind of thing. And about CoSpaces, before I talk too much about it, I think I can just show you a short video. And yes. So yeah, this is the tool we are currently building. It's called CoSpaces. You can download the app in the App Store and Google Play to view your own virtual experiences. It's actually a VR playground platform for creative people to come and build their own your own virtual reality worlds. You can have predefined objects, you can drag and drop images, and then you can walk through your world and have a lot of fun with the things you have created. Short question, who of you had a virtual reality experience so far? Hands up. Who of you owns an own VR headset or some VR device? Great. Who of you have designed a virtual reality space? Great. Actually, virtual reality is going to be big in this year. We are going to see a lot of nice hardware dropping the market. Till the year 2020, they think about 25 million headsets are going to be shipped. We will see around about $30 billion VR revenue till then, with all kind of interesting new content we cannot actually really see right now, but we are going to start and have nice hardware, we have nice games, we have a lot of 360 movie content right now, which is like what's going on right now, but we will see more and more interesting content in the future. And I mean, Facebook, Google, Sony, HTC, they are really big players and a lot of money in this market, so I think they will make sure that they don't mess it up. But anyhow, we are all mostly designers, and as designers we are user-centered by default. And this is why I want to talk about all the kind of like more human aspects today, so what we should keep in mind when we design for VR. So my talk will be about requirements, my talk will be about design best practice, and a little bit about the design process, and I will give you a short glimpse into the future of VR at the end. So first of all, requirements. You have to know there are two different types of virtual reality, actually. There's a more, I would say, technical term called mono VR. This is like when you have your device or like a mobile device and you look through this device into a virtual space and it acts like a window, actually. So this is already kind of exciting, but I think it gets really exciting if we talk about so-called stereo VR. If you take the device, you see the screen split, you can take it into your headset and put it right in front of your head, actually, which gives you an interesting illusion. So currently, actually it looks like this, but it's funny that you just take a screen, put it in front of your head, add head tracking to it, and you actually have the feeling you're inside this thing. So this kind of effect is called immersion, And Wikipedia says immersion into virtual reality is a perception of being physically present in a non-physical world. So it's actually an illusion. So how to get immersed in low-cost way? Probably you know Google Cardboard. This is the first version. It's around about like 15 euros. And 6 million Google Cardboards are sold so far. You can get your own one and get like the first hands-on experience in a like low-budget way. So what are popular things to do in VR? So if you have a headset, what can I do so far? There are 360 movies. There's a lot of interesting content right now going to be built. There's VRSC, nice app which has a lot of interesting short movies done by awesome video producers. There's also a nice app called Google Spotlight Stories. I can highly recommend, especially for kids. There's a little story about a mouse who lost the red hat and tries to catch it. It's really cool. And all the other kind of things, what you can do in virtual reality is you jump into different times where, for example, in the dinosaur age, you can get the experience like being there and seeing dinosaurs fighting. When I was 10 years old, I wish this thing would have existed. You can dive into the ocean, you can do a lot of crazy things you normally would not do, and this is like, I think, what currently makes virtual reality really interesting. From a like task perspective, like we as user experience designers always try to think in tasks and what the user has to accomplish. So the basic really task is you stand in the middle of a space and things around you are happening. So you are constantly looking around and trying to spot what's going on. So the designers put the guys into the center and then things happen. Or people get moved along a path. So while I'm moving slowly, things are happening and I can look and have to watch out what's going on there. So from an ergonomic requirement, we already have this kind of looking and moving. So there's a nice talk from Mike Alga from Google VR. He came up with this ergonomic requirements. And this is a quite interesting thing as we design for VR to be aware of the limitations and requirements from our human body. So what he found out is actually, it's also based on a paper from Samsung, that they say 77 degrees, it's the nice radius for like moving the head to the left and the right, which is kind of okay. Everything which goes beyond 77 degrees to 102 degrees, it's something I really have to bend my head, which is a little bit more uncomfortable. And everything in this like dark gray area is really something I have to really turn my whole body around. Then they have this kind of area where you don't have to put content. Actually, everything in between a half and 1 meter, you should not show content. You should not get into the user's way. And like 20 meters is, so it's the like maximum distance where they say like this is a nice area to actually place the main content. So from these kind of things, we have so-called main content zone. We can put everything there. The peripheral zone is things we can put like additional content or like secondary interesting content there. And curiosity zone is something in my bag. So there's, for example, a nice game where you enter the game and they show you a introduction, what is going to happen right in front of you, and at the end they say, and now turn around and enter the game. And they turn around and then you see a huge building and you can enter and then the game starts. So this is a nice way of using main content zone, curiosity zone. And the middle is actually the no-no zone, so don't put stuff there. We have the same thing for like up and down. So if you move your head slightly upwards or slightly downwards, so you have 20 degrees or minus 12 degrees, which is like kind of the radius where you should put the main content. We also have the peripheral zone. And I mean, we know it actually from our real life that if if you look downwards or really look up in the sky, this is something we rarely do. So this is also things where we can place things to make people like curious. So, oops. The second human requirement, we have to talk about cybersickness. Cybersickness is actually based on two different kind of factors. One factor is like the technical issue. You have to be aware of that you need a certain amount of frames per second to make to have a like fluent experience. So what is suggested is around about 90 frames per second the minimum, and everything is fine from a technological perspective. If there's a huge latency, you will really experience a kind of not pleasant feeling, and you will probably throw up. So course number 2 is actually something we can do something about as designers. So it's about, even if the latency is fine, you have to be to ensure that people are not getting moved too quick to the whole thing. So you have to ensure that it's when you are traveling or when you're really walking through a space that everything happens very slowly and accurate. There are some interesting blogs posts about it from Road to VR and Upload VR. They were tackling this problem of cybersickness, and there are 5 to 6 interesting strategies. One strategy I wanted to show you is that they found out if you put something which flies with you through the space, it makes things a little bit better than if you have no reference point in a virtual environment. So giving people a reference point makes the thing a little bit better. Then you have tech requirements. So we have to know devices and the interactions. And one of the like really early headsets, what we have is, for example, the Homido headset or some mobile headsets where you can put your mobile device inside, and that's actually it. So you can just view. I personally would not recommend buying this, because I mean, what is this kind of for virtual reality experience if you're just inside and you can do nothing, you cannot interact, you just watch. It becomes already a little bit more interesting with one button. So the most popular mobile headset, Google Cardboard, and Google Cardboard devices have this one button where you can at least like long press or make short press and do something with it. If you want to have more like sophisticated experience, you can get the €100 Samsung Gear VR headset. It offers you at least a touchpad and a back button. Never underestimate the back button. It's really powerful. Currently, we saw the Google Daydream headset coming out. This fall, we will see a virtual reality headset and 2 controllers with 6 degrees of freedom and a touchpad plus 2 buttons, which gives you, at least as a designer, something where you can play around with and you can really start interacting with it. And then there are like the 2 big players which are kind of popular, the HTC Vive and the Oculus Rift. They have the real so-called room scale VR, where you have the headset plus 2 controllers or a joystick, where you can really have this room filling VR where everything, your whole motion is tracked in the space, which is really exciting because for HTC Vive, the controllers, it really works really smooth and amazingly fast. This is about interactions and kind of in interaction events, what you can do. So it looks like the industry has agreed on like having 2 controllers. So with Google Daydream and the Oculus devices, you have your hands in VR, which is a very powerful interaction. And the other thing is, still we will see low-cost, easy to use devices on the other hand. And then we have platforms. That's actually not so easy to control. You have the App Store, the Google Play Store. You can publish apps there. You have the Oculus Home Store, where you can publish for the Samsung Gear and for the Oculus device. And then we have Steam VR, which is another platform. So actually, if you design a VR experience, first of all, you have to know for which kind of device you want to do it and for which kind of platform you want to do it. So coming to best practices, designing patterns for VR. We know design patterns when we design for like web or for mobile. We have buttons, we have drop downs and so on. For VR we have a little bit different things. Because of the fact that the whole medium is quite new or still quite new, we don't have so many patterns, which is actually the exciting part of it because you can define new patterns. One of the like most used patterns actually for mobile VR, if you have no hands or like no controllers, is at least the reticle. The reticle is actually a point or like a pointer in VR where when you look around, it gives you it helps you to orientate in the space and to really point to something. I always say it's kind of the virtual mouse for the virtual space. It helps you to spot and select elements. So for the reticle you also have hover states. The reticle helps you to show that something is interactive or something is not. The reticle itself could actually turn into something else. So you can use it to, for example, plant some flowers in a space. So the reticle turns into a plant in this kind of showcase what we have. So it's actually also similar to the mouse cursor when the mouse cursor turns into a hand or into something else, or a text cursor. So another pattern is called the fuse button. Fuse button is similar to the so-called reticle. You always use it in this kind of case when you have this old headset with no button at all. So how do I make an action, or how do I confirm an action if I have no button? So then they have this timer actually. So so you just stare at something, and then over some time, as long as you stare, then it thinks, probably you want to open that. If you ever have experienced the fuse button, it really puts the user under a lot of stress because you just want to look, but if you look too long, you are already into something, and it's really annoying because you accidentally always jump into things and then you have to get out, and I hope this thing dies. So please, I hope that if I give this talk in 1 year, we will see this thing anymore. So another menu, so-called ground menu, we can see for selecting when people start to put additional menus in space. This is what I said, the peripheral zone or the curiosity zone actually right underneath of you, or somewhere in kind of this area when you look at the main content, and then you have like additional menu where I can go back, or where I can go to another kind of content, jump a page forward, jump into another space. I just look a little bit down, select it, and look up, and I'm in a different kind of environment. Then we have so-called controller menus. If we have controllers in VR, we can map menus on top of it. I don't know if you're familiar with Tilt Brush. Tilt Brush is a pretty popular drawing tool for virtual reality, so you can draw in the space, and they map all the kind of tools right on top of the VR controller, and so you can select different kind of colors. So you have a color picker there. You can have different kinds of brushes, and you can select them all with the left-handed controller. Yeah, and this kind of pattern you can see in many new other virtual experiences. Then we have the dashboard. Even in VR as well, you need to navigate. You need to come on board. And this is from the Oculus Home on Gear VR. So what they actually do is they put you into a virtual environment. This is actually suggested that when you enter a space, that you are not just in a white endless room. So most of the people, they put you whether on a green field with some trees, or they put you inside a space with a nice couch and like a nice view, so you should feel comfortable. And the main area for content is right in front of you, which makes also sense because you don't want to move your head all the time. You don't want to look back and look up and really make use of the full 360 degree all the time. So for the dashboard, actually it makes sense to only place it in the main content area, and all the content moves from top to the bottom or from left to the right and into your main area. Then we can talk about moving actually. How do I move in a space? So normally I stand there and then things happen around me. How can I get into a space from A to B? It's actually not so easy because I cannot just simply walk there. I can have endless spaces. So this is a example from the HTC Vive Labs. So what they have, so why are you laughing? Yeah, because of the fact that this thing is yellow, or okay. Yeah, so actually you point in the space, and if you have found the point in the space where you want to go, they just take you right there. And this was for controllers. If you have two controllers, if you have just only one button, for example, you can place hotspots in the field. So if you want, so you can guide the user then. So I want the user to go there. I want the user to go there, and everything else where there is no kind of like hotspot, for example, you cannot jump there. So you can really use this to guide the user. Another interesting thing is from a game where you can just like throw points into the space, and where you throw like the blue points, you will jump there. What is also interesting that as you have thrown out this kind of thingy, you will directly jump there. There's no like smooth transition or no zooming, because this will also get you quite quick into cybersickness. So if you throw something there and then you move there very quick, then yeah, it's kind of an awkward feeling actually. So just most of the people, they just make a hard cut. So you come from A and then to B, or a little fade in between. Another pattern for teleporting outer space. So if I want to leave a space and go to a completely different kind of world, this was a nice pattern. And I saw this several times somewhere else, that you actually have something like a bowl, or you have something like a 3D thingy, where you see a preview of the space where you are going to head, and you can take it, and actually the gesture is nice. Or what the guy is doing, he's eating it, like, and you just take it and jump right into this thing, which is, I think, a pretty, yeah, normal gesture. We would take like, oh, I want to see, and just like put it on, and you are inside this thing. Then we have free walking, actually something you don't see so often. And I found a nice idea for freely walking with two controllers actually. So you cannot just simply go, but what this guy is suggesting, you take the two controllers and you do this kind of like walking gesture. And as you are moving, and how far and how fast you are moving, you go faster in the room into this kind of position you are looking to. We will see if we will put this into, or if we will see this into different kind of platforms and games. Then, yeah, text display, classic thing. We have to also display text. We have to display information. There's the actually head-up display idea. So in a virtual space, you have something like an overlay. So the interesting thing is that it's like an augmented reality in a virtual environment, which is crazy. So the other kind of text display what you have is like in space, and you can map it on objects. So this is the IKEA VR kitchen app. So you can cook cutpula there, by the way, but you can also put things into the trash bin. So they show you overlaying information on top of things, and you can select them there. By the way, you can also see that they have this kind of tilt brush kind of menu map to the controller as well. So the other thing what we can see from the Google Cardboard demo, that you have like text, image, information mapped on top of things. So this is, for example, a nice scenario for like virtual museum tours, and where you can dig deeper into like information about something. And this information then is getting displayed on top of the or close to the object. So these are like kind of the most popular design patterns that are going on right now. So you have to be aware when you design for virtual reality, but there's still room for improvement. So as you are designing for VR, what is different to the process of like designing a mobile website? Still, the cool thing is you can adapt a lot of things from reality. So this is us prototyping actually how could it look like if I display information in space. So I took this laser pointer actually, and I put it on top of my head because it's also fixed like a reticle. So yeah, you have this kind of reticle on top of your head, and everywhere you look, you can point and click on things actually. And yeah, so you can borrow a lot of metaphors from the real world and put it into your virtual world. So if you have experimented around in the real reality, we also use, for example, Sketch or like classic design tools to design like 2D patterns. You also have like 2D interfaces in a 3D space. And then we use our own CoSpaces tool, for example, to place things in VR. You can easily drag and drop your images there. You can find out like how far things are away from you, and you get a better feeling for the distance and how big should the text be? Is the image? Can I see the image? Is it clear? And so on. So actually, designing it in 3D and then jumping in right away, very quick, is something where CoSpaces is really cool tool for that. We are using Blender, or probably you can also use Cinema 4D, Maya, some 3D tool to play around with animations. So how does it look like if I click on something? Where does the information come from? How it is getting presented? And we are using currently Unity for prototyping like 3D interactions in the space. So most of the VR apps actually are done with Unity or Unreal right now. The only problem is that Unity and Unreal are not the easiest tools to learn, so there is quite like an entry barrier for us as designers. And a short glimpse into the future of VR, finally. So I see I've like talked for about like 30 minutes. To catch up to the previous talk, we will see more and more other interesting interactions in the future, I'm pretty sure. So what we have right now, we have head tracking, we have controllers, we have the VR controllers, or the like old classic gamepads. There are currently headsets who work with eye tracking. So where I look, that it actually really defines where I'm looking at exactly. We have positional tracking. We already see things with leap motion that you can detect the hands. We have micro gestures, or like we have seen it before, mind events. But this is all like going more into the future. What we currently have is we are right here. But in order to really enrich the whole virtual reality experience, we, I think, need more and more interesting other interaction patterns in the future. Yeah, what kind of scenarios we can imagine? We see games, movies, for training, for learning, for shopping. You can go to a virtual mall. You can, for example, immersive journalism was a huge topic at last Republika in Berlin. Some of you probably also spotted like city planning, that people want to imagine how changes in the city could happen over time, and then you just put it out in VR. One of the early cases was not only dating, it was porn actually. Like in every other technology, porn is a big driver for new media. So who said yeah? Yeah, and traveling. So actually I had an interesting talk lately with Daniel from Realities.io. They are building an app where you have this so-called photogrammarity. So this is a platform where you have 3D scans of the world and you can jump to all the different kinds of hotspots. This could probably change traveling as well. So I think there are a lot of interesting scenarios, and we will, we will see where this whole thing is going to. We currently also have very nice experiences with CoSpaces and teachers, and for education, we also already see something going on there. So it's exciting, and I think the people just need easy to access tools to build something on their own. What's also interesting, right now you have seen the design process, so you come from a 2D world, then you put something into 3D, then you have to go to your headset, you have to look in your headset if something is big enough or too short, too small, or however, then you go back, then you fix it and you export it again, this whole back and forth kind of process. There are already people working on like building things directly in VR. So this is Unreal editor demo, where they try to build things or build a virtual world right in virtual reality. This is something we are also interested in. We are also doing research with CoSpaces. So with collaboration of LMU in Munich, we currently working together with Xaver, hands up. Yeah, there's Xaver. So he's currently together working at the Lytix and intuitive 3D modeling in immersive virtual environments. So we are trying to make 3D modeling as intuitive and as easy accessible as possible for everyday people. Some nice resource for you if you want to dig deeper into the whole virtual reality world, the UX of VR. It's a curated list of different kinds of resources, a lot of nice talks, great articles, and some design and developer resources as well. So uxofvr.com, definitely something to dig in deeper. Yeah, finally, it's pioneer work, baby. There's a lot of things to do, and it's a very exciting time right now because we can define the kind of new steps, the new interaction patterns. There's, like I said, some things are defined, but they are not set in stone, so we can already still develop things further, and this makes this whole thing exciting. And yeah, if you want, we are looking for nice, smart people to join our company. We are looking for interaction designers for 3D, senior UX designers, communication designers, motion designers, developers. Yeah, we are all quite excited about what's going on currently, and we are, I hope we will really make the whole VR thing happen together. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'm here. There's Eugene, our founder. There's Ela, hands up. Yes, they're also from the Lytix. Then there was Xaver. Then here's Balint, hands up, our communication designer. So if you want to know how it feels to work with us and what we are currently doing, plus I brought some headsets here, so you can see the Gear VR, you can see the MedHealth Viewmaster, you can get hands-on on the Vive controllers, at least to like really feel how it goes. So we are happy to answer your questions, and yeah, so far, thanks a lot.